the other part of the Navy education is all this science and math. You mentioned being a slide rule wizard back in the day.
Yeah.
And so again, for young people, here you are, a pro quarterback, Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner. Can you share with people what you think the value of the academy education was, not just the military training, but being required to take all these engineering courses and how it's translated to the rest of your life?
Well, it's great. You know, actually, yesterday, Byron, I was in San Francisco, and our company we put on an event there. It was a technology event. We're a real estate firm. I'm on the board of Jones Lang LaSalle, which the Staubach company for 30 years. We sold to Jones Lang LaSalle 3.5 years ago, so I'm still involved in the company. And it was really a technology conference because we're deeply involved in the real estate side of helping these Tweeter and we're working with Riverbed, a lot of really great companies out there. And so I told them that I was a slide rule engineer and that I haven't really kept up with it. I got my new iPad, and the reason I got it is the new one, the iPad 3, is because the screen is more visible. So I'm still trying to understand the applications, but so I have a BS in engineering, and that's what it is a BS. But the fundamentals, though, of education and the things that you're taught as an engineer can apply, and that's why I try to get some experience. When I left the service and joined the Cowboys, I worked in the off season for a real estate firm. I wanted to get sales experience and marketing experience, and then I was on some boards, learned a little bit about accounting. Obviously, and when I had my own company, I learned a lot about accounting, and so. But you have the fundamentals are there with engineering education, but the academy now, I think it's really great now that there's more majors, there's more. It's just not engineering, but still engineering. As a basis in your life is very, very helpful to move into a lot of other directions.
Right. So now let's just go. You graduate from the academy in '65. As you said, you spend time in the Supply Corps in Vietnam, and then ultimately you're drafted by the Cowboys, and you go to the Cowboys in '69. When did you start your family life? When did you make your commitment to family after you graduated? And tell people a little bit about how that transpired for you and what the experience was.
Well, I had a girlfriend that I met in the 4th grade, and I didn't like girls to the 8th grade. But she was in the 8th grade, and so we actually went out in the 8th grade, and then we dated off and on in high school, and in college she went off to nursing school, and I went to the Naval Academy, and we stayed close and went to the June weeks. I think she made every June week. I know she made the last one because I bought her the engagement ring at Tillman Jewelry, and I waited until the end of June when I got home. I had some other things before I actually played in a college all-star game in June, and so we got engaged I got married in September of '65, and our first child was born in late July of '66. So Jennifer took us 10 months to have our first child, and and then we had 2 more in the Navy. So we had 3 children in 4 years. The only time I was in Vietnam a year, and fortunately we didn't have a child then, so that would not have been a good. But so we I really. So in the service, we had 2 more children when we were in Dallas, but we were a family in the service, and had 3 little girls, and it was a great time. And they one was born in Georgia, and 2 in Pensacola at the Pensacola Naval Air Station.
So you entered the NFL as a family man.
I was a family, and that motivated me. Had a lot to do. They didn't pay quarterbacks quite what they do today, and so I really went to work in the off season I was 27, which is unusual then, as a rookie and with 3 kids, and it really motivated me to work in the off season too. And so I went to work for a real estate firm, and one of the other things I learned that the Navy taught me loyalty, and I would have never left the service to play football, and not even think about leaving the academy. And it taught me a lot about loyalty, and so I stayed with the Henry Miller Company, and I stayed. You know, wasn't sure each summer, you know, is real estate what I want to do, or the off season? But I stayed with it, and it was the best thing I ever did, because it became a real big part of my life. And I told Mr. Miller I wanted to start my own company, and he said, I want to be like you. And so he was my mentor. So that loyalty to the Miller Company, which made a commitment in my life outside of football, was a big deal.
Right. You know, it's interesting to hear the balance that you disciplined yourself to essentially always make sure your family was really number one.
Yeah.
That's what I really hear you saying as part of that story. You're with the Dallas Cowboys. I have to tell you, for all of us alumni who are Dallas Cowboys fans, it's your fault. You cheer for Dallas because of Navy grads.
And a lot of you say you cheer for Dallas, but down deep here. Especially when we played the Redskins. I said,
no question.
Hey, Roger, we're pulling for you.
Well,
pulling for you, but we're not pulling for the Cowboys.
We were pulling for you and the Cowboys, frankly. And you represented so many different images for the country. But tell me how, again, this Navy Foundation transpired for you in terms of your leadership and your time in the NFL. And you did a lot of different things. I won't go through all of it, but you were clearly a leader of men, but you were among a completely different group of people than you've been exposed to in Navy and in your naval career. So how did all this Naval Academy training transpire into your NFL career?
Well, again, it goes back to the, as a quarterback, you have responsibility to be a leader, and I learned a lot about leadership at the Naval Academy, and I learned a lot about hard work. And there's that old saying, there's no traffic jams on the extra mile. You're taught in the service to give that extra, and there's so many great stories of military heroes and what they've been. I just read this book Unbroken here recently, and what our POWs went through, and so you kind of get that training of giving that extra and hard work, and you sure learn a lot about the importance of team, and as I mentioned, perseverance. You just can't quit in life. And also to make sure you're doing the right thing, because when you get knocked down, you don't give up in your faith, you don't cook the books, you don't change your values. You got to just keep hanging in there. And so that I learned from the academy and the service, and you get involved. I'm involved in my high school, and there's a lot of parts of your life that you're involved with. But the academy really, in this time in the service, developed who I am, and so the giving back and being involved in the foundation was an easy thing for me.
Right.